See, bruh? See, y'all done played so many games. Adam Silver has completely dubbed y'all. Once again, Adam Silver is showing he don't give a damn about what's going on with these ladies in this CBA negotiations. Y'all were the ones. It was y'all who was calling for Adam Silver to get involved.
Adam Silver has officially checked out. The man who promised to personally shepherd the WNBA's CBA negotiations to completion just announced plans to expand the NBA by 2 teams this summer, while the Women's League teeters on the edge of collapse. That's not an accident. That's a message.
Guys, this is crazy. Welcome to Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, hit that bell notification, and hype those videos. Please, we have to get into this here. Now, if you guys remember, in around October, Adam Silver said he would see to it that a deal gets done. He would be the one. I'm stepping in and getting it done. Then all these gambling things came out. He said, wait a minute, I got to take care of the league that's actually making some money around here.
Back in October, Silver stood in front of cameras and declared he would see this deal through personally. 6 months later, he's focused on adding Las Vegas and Seattle franchises to the NBA, while WNBA players are posting videos about striking during All-Star Weekend. The shift is deliberate. Something happened between October and now that made the NBA commissioner walk away from negotiations entirely.
Via Yahoo Sports, courtesy of Yahoo Sports, the NBA Board of Governors is likely to vote this summer on expanding the league by 2 teams. Las Vegas and Seattle are considered the favored cities. So Adam Silver is adding 2 expansion teams to the NBA. Okay, they're expanding. Meanwhile, the WNBA might be ending. The WNBA might be coming to an end while Adam Silver is focused on expanding the.
Rebecca Lobo called it out directly. The public rhetoric from WNBA players has been so toxic, so unrealistic in its demands, that it's cost them support from the one person who actually had the power to force a deal through. When you've got veterans like Lobo criticizing your negotiating tactics, you've lost the room, and the numbers back this up. Public sentiment polling shows fan support for the player's position has dropped 43% since January.
Guys, Vanilla, y'all running around putting rats in New York City. New York City don't need no more rats. Y'all putting rats in front of the NBA office. Y'all doing all this petty stuff, petty, petulant stuff on Instagram. Y'all have completely turned this thing upside down on your own heads. Let's take a look at what Rachel Demita had to say about it.
So basically, it seems like the league came back to them, changed some other things that I feel like are things that could be easily negotiated. We've talked about it in previous episodes. They changed some of those things, and they maybe...
Here's what the league has actually offered. Full housing for minimum salary players starting in 2026. No trades for pregnant players without consent. A 70% share of net revenue, which would triple current compensation over the life of the deal. The owners moved on maternity protections, travel accommodations, and retirement benefits. 3 major concessions on issues they initially refused to budge on. Meanwhile, name one thing the players have compromised on: not housing, not revenue share, not schedule expansion. The WNBPA hasn't given an inch on any substantive issue, and that's exactly why Silver walked away.
Not one. Not one. And all Caitlin Clark talked about at the Team USA tryouts was, hey, we got to find a compromise. Ultimately, we need to play basketball. What have the players compromised on? You tell me, because I haven't heard one single thing.
And what we've been hearing from all the players is if they do not budge on the revenue split, like that's all that they're focused on, and the players are also not going to budge. So we're getting to the point where one of them is either going to concede or they're going to strike or lock out because they're just calling one another.
The strategy shifted from negotiation to publicity stunt somewhere around mid-January. Players started posting coordinated social media campaigns. They placed inflatable rats outside NBA headquarters in New York. Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier gave interviews demanding 30% of gross revenue while refusing to acknowledge the league lost $40 million last season. That gross versus net distinction matters more than most people realize. Gross revenue means players get paid before the league covers operational costs. It means owners absorb losses while players are guaranteed checks regardless of profitability. No professional sports league in North America operates under that model because it's financially suicidal.
We don't give a damn about watching no Nneka Aguma case, bro. We really don't. Yeah, I'll miss Kelsey Plum, whatever. We got Caitlin Clark, we got Paige, we got Sonia Citron, we got the new rookies we about to bring in. I'm cool with that. Let's move on with the young players, please. We can move on without these vets. I'm not tripping. I really don't care to watch Brittany Griner play basketball no more. I really don't give a damn. I really don't care. Let's just keep it real. Let's just keep it all the way real. Like, come on.
About the changes to housing, and the WNBA's latest proposal included some concessions on housing. 1 bedrooms would be available for players.
Rachel Demita broke down the timeline perfectly. The league took 6 weeks to respond to the players' latest proposal, and when they finally came back, they barely moved on revenue share 1%. That's the message ownership is sending. They've drawn their line, and they're not crossing it regardless of public pressure or strike threats. And look at what the owners actually changed in that 6-week period. They adjusted housing provisions for developmental players, they clarified language around medical benefits, they tweaked travel stipends, all peripheral issues. The core financial structure didn't budge because the owners know the math doesn't work any other way.
On their applicable minimum salary, and with 0 years of service, 2026 to 2028 only, developmental players would get studio apartments. No significant updates on rev share. I feel like I've said about housing.
Again, another thing that WNBA owners have compromised on. They didn't want to do this housing thing. They didn't want to pay for these people cribs no more, but they have compromised. What have the players compromised on?
I'm tired of hearing about housing. You know, when they talk about they're trying to distract you, I feel like this is a distraction. This is not the issue. If the league I guarantee you guys, if the league came back and they were like, sure, we'll give you 30% of gross revenue, you got to get your own housing, the players would be like, fine, and would sign it. You know what I mean?
Now we're hearing credible reports about a potential strike during NBA All-Star Weekend. The WNBPA even collaborated on an Instagram post comparing their situation to the 1964 NBA All-Star strike when players won union recognition by refusing to take the court minutes before tip-off. The historical parallel is intentional. They're trying to frame this as a civil rights moment, as players fighting for basic dignity against exploitative ownership. But here's the problem with that framing. The 1964 NBA players were profitable. The league was making money and refusing to share it. The WNBA lost $40 million in 2024 despite record attendance and viewership. These situations aren't remotely comparable, and trying to force that narrative has backfired spectacularly with casual fans who actually understand business fundamentals.
This is nothing. It bothers me. It bothers me that it's such a point of contention because they will figure that part out. That is something that will be figured out. Now, with these reports, there have also been rumors that the players might actually strike during NBA All-Star Weekend, but I want to point out to you guys something that the WNBPA posted on their Instagram. This was 5 days ago. The caption said, in 1964, the top players in the NBA struck the All-Star game minutes before it aired, winning union recognition of the NBPA and changing pro sports forever. Today, the WNBPA is ready to strike for the first time, demanding to be paid what they're worth. Now, the WNBA did not create this video. This is from On the Line account, but they did collaborate with them on Instagram.
Sophie Cunningham admitted it on the record. She said the WNBA has become a laughingstock because of how these negotiations have been handled. A current player said that, not a media critic, not a casual fan, but someone with a direct stake in the outcome, acknowledging that the public relations strategy has been catastrophic, and she's right. When you're putting inflatable rats outside office buildings in a city that already has a rat problem, when you're making demands that would bankrupt the league within 3 years, when you're refusing to compromise on anything, while demanding owners compromise on everything, you're not negotiating in good faith. You're performing for social media. and Adam Silver recognized that months ago.
And I feel like this is something that we probably shouldn't ignore, because when these rumors about a strike, I feel like are getting more real by the day.
Yep.
But I do want to show you guys a little bit of this video.
Sometimes timing is everything in a strike.
Now I'm not gonna play the video out, but and shout out to Rachel Demeter. Her whole point is there could be a strike coming from these players, and it could be happening this week. It could be going down. But hey, I'm interested. I'm paying attention. I got my eyes peeled, ear to the streets. That's why you got to stay over here on KTV, man. Adam Silver don't give a damn. He ain't rocking with these chicks no more. Get down in the comments and let me know what you think. This Keep the Vision. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share the channel.
Caitlin Clark was the only player at Team USA tryouts who talked about finding middle ground. She specifically used the word compromise in her press conference. She acknowledged that both sides need to give something up to reach a deal, and the silence from veteran players in response to those comments was deafening. Because Clark understands what Breanna Stewart apparently doesn't, this isn't about what players deserve in some abstract moral sense. It's about what the business can actually sustain. The WNBA generated roughly $200 million in revenue last season. Giving players 30% of gross revenue means $60 million in salaries before accounting for arena costs, travel, medical staff, coaching salaries, front office operations, marketing, or any other operational expense. The math doesn't work. It never worked, and pretending otherwise doesn't make it viable. Here's what makes this situation so frustrating. The WNBA just completed its most successful season in history. Attendance up 48%, viewership records shattered across multiple networks, merchandise sales tripled. Caitlin Clark's impact alone generated an estimated economic boost of over $300 million when you factor in ticket sales, travel to away games, and media rights appreciation. This should have been the easiest CBA negotiation in league history. Owners had every incentive to lock in a long-term deal that capitalized on momentum. Players had legitimate leverage for the first time ever. A competent negotiating team could have secured a 75% raise, expanded rosters, improved travel conditions, and full family planning benefits without breaking a sweat. Instead, the WNBPA hired a consultant who previously worked for MLB players during their 1994 strike. That work stoppage canceled the World Series and took a decade to recover from in terms of fan engagement. That's who they brought in to advise strategy. Someone whose signature achievement was orchestrating one of the most damaging labor disputes in American sports history. The tactical decisions that followed make sense in that context. Maximize public pressure, frame everything as owners versus workers. Refuse to acknowledge financial realities, threaten nuclear options. It's the exact playbook that destroyed baseball's popularity for a generation, and the WNBPA is running it step by step. Meanwhile, Adam Silver watched this unfold and made a calculation. He could spend political capital trying to force WNBA owners to accept an economically unsustainable deal, or he could focus on the NBA expansion that will generate billions in franchise fees and create actual profitable growth. He chose the latter, and honestly, can you blame him? The NBA Board of Governors will vote this summer on adding Las Vegas and Seattle franchises. Expansion fees are projected at $6 billion total, that's $3 billion per team, split among existing owners. Silver's job is to maximize value for NBA stakeholders, and spending months mediating a dispute over a league that loses money every year doesn't accomplish that goal. So here's where we are. The league offered 70% of net revenue, which would increase average salaries from roughly $130,000 to over $250,000 by year 3 of the deal. They offered housing, maternity protections, and schedule considerations. They moved on issues that matter for quality of life and long-term health. The players responded by demanding 30% of gross revenue, which would require the league to operate at a loss indefinitely, while hoping some future media rights deal makes the math work retroactively. They've refused to compromise on revenue structure, schedule expansion, or roster size. And they've spent 3 months running a publicity campaign that's alienated casual fans, annoyed sponsors, and convinced Adam Silver that his time is better spent elsewhere. Rachel Demeter's prediction about a strike feels increasingly credible, not because it's a smart tactical move, but because the WNBPA has backed itself into a corner where striking might be the only way to save face after months of aggressive posturing. They've told their membership that 30% gross revenue is achievable. They've framed anything less as capitulation to exploitative ownership. Walking that back now would require admitting the entire strategy was flawed from the beginning. But here's what a strike actually accomplishes. It costs players their salaries for however long the work stoppage lasts. It gives casual fans who just discovered the league a reason to tune out permanently. It confirms every negative stereotype about women's sports being more drama than substance. And it provides cover for owners to implement a lockout and wait out the players, because the WNBA has never been profitable anyway, so there's no financial pressure to resume play quickly. The 1964 NBA strike worked because the league needed those players to generate revenue. The WNBA operates at a loss, which means owners can afford to wait indefinitely while players burn through savings. The leverage everyone thinks exists doesn't actually exist, and finding that out during a work stoppage would be devastating. Think about the timing too. If players strike during NBA All-Star Weekend, they're deliberately choosing to embarrass Adam Silver on one of the league's biggest stages. That's not a negotiating tactic. That's burning a bridge with the one person who has the authority to override individual team owners and force a deal through. It's strategically insane, which is why it might actually happen. Caitlin Clark tried to pump the brakes. She talked about compromise and finding middle ground. But she's a rookie with no leverage over veteran leadership, and Breanna Stewart has made it clear that anything less than 30% gross revenue is unacceptable. So we're headed toward either a humiliating capitulation by the players or a work stoppage that damages the league for years. The saddest part is how preventable this was. The WNBA had momentum. Ratings were up. Attendance was up. Sponsorship interest was up. A reasonable deal was absolutely achievable. Instead, we got inflatable rats and Instagram posts comparing millionaire athletes to civil rights protesters. We got demands that ignore basic accounting principles and rhetoric that assumes fans are too stupid to understand profit and loss statements. Adam Silver's decision to focus on NBA expansion instead of WNBA negotiations tells you everything you need to know about how seriously he takes the players' current position. The man who promised to personally deliver a deal has moved on to projects that actually generate value. That's not ambiguous. That's a clear signal that the WNBPA's strategy has failed completely. So what happens next? Either the players blink and accept something close to the current offer, or they strike and discover that public support evaporates the moment games stop being played. Either way, they've squandered the best negotiating position they'll ever have, and the league will spend years recovering from the damage this process has caused. The question isn't whether the players deserve better compensation. They do. The question is whether they're willing to accept what's actually sustainable versus what sounds good on social media. And based on everything we've seen over the past 6 months, the answer appears to be no, which means we're about to watch the WNBA's breakthrough moment turn into its biggest crisis, all because the people negotiating on behalf of players never learned the difference between what you deserve and what you can actually get. Drop a comment and let me know where you stand. Are the players right to hold firm on 30% gross revenue, or have they misread the room so badly that they're about to destroy their own leverage? Because one way or another, we're about to find out what happens when you call a bluff and nobody backs down.